Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions sounded outside the city. The Click pirates set the scrap terminal on fire, and there were only a few hours left for his main mission. After 3 days of continuous preparation, it was finally time to harvest. Xiao walked through the gradually falling night and began to approach the city gate. Outside the city, the scrap terminal. At this moment, the explosions here have become one, the flames shot up into the sky, and a large area of burning garbage was blown up high. The refugees who had been resting in the scrap terminal were awakened by the sudden explosion, and the fire began to spread in the garbage mountain. When those refugees reacted and wanted to escape from their homes, the fire had already spread completely. The shrill screams echoed with the explosions, showing a scene of hell. If hell really exists, then the current scrap terminal is hell. The people of the Crick Pirates, watching the fire gradually spread across the scrap terminal, began to quickly approach the city gate. They had discussed with Xiao before that once the scrap terminal was ignited, they would immediately go to the city gate, and Xiao would send someone to open the city gate. Of course, Crick would not agree to this kind of behavior of putting his life in the hands of others. So after the meeting, Xiao sent his confidant Hank to follow the Crick Pirates. At this time, Hank had disguised himself as a pirate and followed behind Crick. Hurry, the fire is about to spread, and then we will be in danger. Crick roared, and his subordinates behind him quickened their pace. 3 minutes later, the Crick Pirates arrived outside the city gate. When they arrived at the city gate, these pirates all smiled. They had already done their job, and next, they only needed to enter the city to welcome a better life. Especially Crick himself, he was already daydreaming about his life after becoming a noble. Luxurious residence, exquisite food, and a large number of tender women's bodies. At this moment, Crick even wanted to completely give up his identity as a pirate. Bang, bang, bang. Crick knocked on the city gate. Open the door, we are the Crick Pirates, and the scrap terminal has been set on fire by us. After Crick knocked on the city gate, there was a dead silence. Except for the sound of the night wind blowing the flames, the city was silent. Hey, open the door quickly, the fire is about to spread. Still silent, Crick was a little panicked. Behind them was a fire that engulfed everything, and in front of them was a solid city gate. They were trapped. It won't be long before they will be burned to death. What's going on? Why didn't the city gate open? Crick's eyes were full of bloodshot, and he turned and glared at Hank like an angry beast. Hank's lips turned pale. He was sent out of the city by Xiao. Hank was just an ordinary guard and had no idea that the king was not going to keep his promise. No, wait a minute, I'll try. Hank couldn't speak clearly. He vaguely guessed something. Bang, 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 open the door, I'm Hank from the guards, Bai Ye, come out, come out. Hank began to roar, and he had omitted the word sir after the title. Bai Ye, I'm going to kill you. Crick had already understood that he had been deceived by Xiao, and now they were just pawns and sacrifices. The bloodshot eyes looked at Hank. Burn, to death, him. After Crick said this word by word, his subordinates immediately tied Hank up, and several people worked together to throw Hank into the sea of fire not far away. Ah, it's none of my business, Bai Ye, you will die. The flames began to kiss Hank's skin, and the shrill screams lasted for more than 10 seconds before disappearing. Just when the Click Pirates were almost in despair, a deep male voice came from the city wall. Hey, people down there, do you want to live? All the people in front of the city gate trembled. Who is it? Come out. Click lost his mind a little, and looked at the top of the city wall with the help of the firelight. It was a thin middle-aged man. Just as Click was about to speak, barrels of explosives were thrown down from the city wall one after another. Seeing those barrels of explosives falling to the ground, Click was horrified, and there was a sea of fire behind him, which was to blow them up. Blow up the city gate, you still have a little hope. After saying that, the middle-aged man on the city wall retracted his body and disappeared into the darkness. After hesitating for less than 2 seconds, Ajin was the first to rush to the barrels of explosives and place them at the gate of the city. Anxious conversations were heard inside the city gate, and it seemed that they had discovered what was happening outside the city gate. Crick tore off his black robe, revealing a yellow armor, raised his arm, and fired a bullet at the explosive barrel. Boom! The impact of the explosion pushed the members of the Crick Pirates back one after another. Some unlucky pirates were pierced by the debris splashed by the explosion and fell to the ground and died. The pirate group of several hundred people lost at least a dozen people because of this explosion. But it was worth it, because the city gate had been blown open. Behind the blown up city gate, there were several broken bodies scattered. These were the guards of the gate guard team. The Crick Pirates stepped on the broken city gate and walked into the royal capital. This was a group of angry pirates, so they wanted to burn, kill, and loot in the royal city. Hey, stop right there. Crick looked at a dark corner, raised his arm horizontally, and pointed the gun on his shoulder forward. Don't shoot, I saved you. The middle-aged man on the wall walked out in the darkness, with some fear in his eyes. Why did you save me? I don't even know you. Click didn't put down his weapon. Bai Ye and I have a grudge. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. A cruel smile appeared on Click's lips. Where is Bai Ye? In the palace, he is receiving the king's reward. It is said that he was rewarded with noble status. Words such as reward and noble status stimulated Click, because that should have been his dot. Bang! The gunshot rang out, and the middle-aged man's chest was pierced, with a fist-sized blood hole. Click actually shot his savior. You bastard, you dared to throw explosives at me, do you want to kill me? After that, Click led his men to rush towards the palace. He wanted to kill Bai Ye, kill the king, and rob the palace to make up for today's losses. The middle-aged man fell to the ground, blood oozing from the corners of his mouth, and his body twitched constantly. Watching the Click Pirates go away, the middle-aged man's eyes began to dim. At this moment, a young man with a cigarette in his mouth walked out of the dark corner. Give the money to my wife and daughter, I have done as you asked. Xiao squatted in front of the middle-aged man and exhaled a puff of green smoke. Well done, the money has been given to them. That's great, thank you. After saying that, the middle-aged man's eyes were completely dim, and he died under Click's gun. This middle-aged man was a death row prisoner rescued by Xiao in prison, and the previous incident was just a deal. Xiao paid money, and the middle-aged man paid his life, a fair and unfair deal. Looking at the Click Pirates going away, Xiao threw away the cigarette in his hand and stomped it out. Crick Pirates, don't let me down. Xiao disappeared into the night and rushed towards the palace.